And it's just like, it's very similar to the supply chains that exist in our road networks and our train networks for the delivery of goods and services. These elements help us maintain and, when necessary, restore the social equilibrium post-disaster. None of these are separable in reality from the others. We mitigate hazards and prepare communities so that the response and the recovery will be enhanced, and then we mitigate all over again. As I said at the start, it's a continuous process, and assaults on mitigation stress the entire system, and so does ignoring mitigation. And so I thought we ought to change the game, if you will, and here's how it came about in terms of the NEMA participation. I'm also on the NEMA Homeland Security Committee, and I'm really not digressing here, and thus I'm a member of the National Homeland Security Consortium. The members of that consortium had a dilemma during the previous administration. This group, comprised of a number of national associations with markedly different approaches and interests, shared a common frustration with the manner in which Homeland Security was being managed. In 2008, we felt we needed to develop a white paper to suggest to the three at the time viable presidential campaigns and their transition teams that there may be a better way forward. To its credit, the outgoing administration agreed to support the consortium's work with funding. The white paper outlined collective principles and a vision for Homeland Security in a new administration. All three likely transition teams treated the document with a great deal of seriousness, which was a very thoughtful and not a polemical document at all. I think we successfully strained all the "you" messages out of it. The Obama team was clearly the most engaged, quite frankly, and it made sense that NEMA should promote a similar effort to allow the new administration to focus some attention on mitigation as a concept, because the new team seemed to welcome cross-disciplinary, consensus-building themes. Some really bright people representing more than 20 organizations came together to produce that white paper. It was published in 2009, a consensus document that laid out the principles which should guide our efforts to promote mitigation writ large. The paper received a lot of favorable reaction, and again, with FEMA's assistance, we pulled the group together again in 2010 and in January 2011 to hammer out our next steps. While some of the original team did not sign onto the paper, mostly for policy and procedural reasons, rather than problems with the content, we today have 20 organizations and associations that have signed on, including ASFPM. In January of 2011, the Alliance, the new National Mitigation Alliance, met to address key items related to the continued development of the organization. They met in DC, accomplished their goal in one day in solidifying a governance structure that will guide the work of the Alliance. One of the biggest outcomes of the meeting was the determination that the Alliance will be governed in a way similar to the National Homeland Security Consortium, in that tri-chairs will lead the group. NEMA will serve as a permanent chair to provide administrative support and continuity. Elections will be held to choose other chairs. They'll serve staggered terms of 2 years. So the meeting provided the group with a forum to discuss some major themes and priorities for the coming year, and some of those priorities are reframing mitigation to extend beyond traditional FEMA programs or grant constructs, leveraging key partnerships to advance mitigation beyond traditional stakeholders, understanding mitigation's role in the public-built environment, including critical infrastructure. The need to have a gathering place for information may have been solved. The University of Colorado Hazard Center has been working with developing a repository for a lot of the data and information that a lot of us who work in the weeds and earthquakes don't understand about what's going on in flood management, and may be true for you as well. The fact is, we all need to look at everything that's going on and develop a common theme about what we're doing and why we're doing it and who we're doing it for. Since the January meeting, the Alliance has continued to communicate via conference calls and email. The elections for the tri-chair positions resulted in the Natural Hazard Mitigation Association representative Ed Thomas being elected for a 2-year term. Actually, we elected the associations and they picked their person. Association of Floodplain Managers picked Chad. So that's somebody who's an old friend we can work together with very easily, and he represents you very, very effectively. NEMA's added a page to our association's website to host the Mitigation Alliance, and we're utilizing this platform to post relevant information for mitigation stakeholders. The Alliance leadership is discussing holding a Capitol Hill briefing similar to one we did in 2009 to introduce the white paper to Congress. At that meeting, we had Senator Landrieu from Louisiana and Craig Fugate and myself and some other people in a panel. And it explores mitigation a little bit and kind of allows us to kind of expand our view from the things we deal with day to day. This type of briefing might really help the Alliance begin to get congressional and congressional staff attention to the larger issues surrounding mitigation and its importance. I won't go into the details of the Alliance beyond that. I'm sure you can get that. But I'm just going to tell you that we need to elevate mitigation in the discussion as both the first and last principal element of emergency management. And we need to avoid getting fragmented. Fully funded, the nation's mitigation program would help all of us secure our communities from our greatest threats before the next disaster and can help prepare for the next disaster. We're looking for champions of mitigation at the local level, maybe local chambers that will see the benefit of pre-disaster mitigation and provide cover for elected and appointed local officials as they address mitigation needs. It's not enough to say, well, those guys are just worried about the next election. If that's their concern, provide them cover. It really helped us when we had scientists talk about our earthquake threat that gave our mayor some room to maneuver with his budget. If this was easy, somebody would have done it by now. But it matters a lot, to me anyway, that a presidential decision directive mentions mitigation. And it matters that with all the problems associated with PDM allocations, that it got reauthorized and the earmarks have been excised from the program, hopefully never to return. There are reasons, I think, for optimism and not despair. But the future can be bright or it can be bleak. What you do and what I do is important. We can't allow the temporal political issues we face to cloud our approach. Let's not assign blame to anybody, past or present. In fact, a lot of the people that annoyed us actually helped us a lot. And frankly, even in the previous administration, there were stars like Dave Marstad, who's just sitting right here, who helped me immeasurably to just address a lot of issues that we had to get through to get to the point where we could actually see the opportunities for a mitigation alliance. We can't leave this to FEMA. We can't beat on them. They have their problems too. A lot of this is up to us. Of necessity, it's their job to assure the prudent use of federal funds. It's our job, it's our mission to keep the social equilibrium of our communities in balance. The questions the members of Congress are asking, however annoying and troublesome they may be, are good questions. They just don't know the answer. The organizations and the interests that fight the question instead of answering the question are going to lose big. That's going to happen. You have to respect the fact that whether they knew nothing about civics when they walked in the door and took their oath, that they're sitting in a place that the people put them there. Whatever your political philosophy is, I'm pretty much to the left of most of the people I meet. The fact is, there's some good people on the other side that care as much about the lives and the future of this country as anyone else. And we need to elevate safety of our communities above all those other concerns. We can have fun fighting about that all we want at another time. We've got a community, a nation to protect, and we need to be answering their questions not only respectfully but thoughtfully. And if you look at the allocations, and I'll just say this, I don't think Homeland Security did as good a job in this 2011 budget of answering the questions they were being asked as others did. And some who did pretty well took the time to find out what was behind the question and provide the analysis and the information that was being requested repeatedly for 2 or 3 years. So I'm not angry at the questions, I welcome them, whether it's at a local level or a state level or a federal level. People want to know, we've got a good story to tell, we might as well just tell them the truth. I want to thank ASFPM for their continuing leadership in the Alliance and in mitigation. You've helped bring closer the day when mitigation does not have to be explained very slowly to decision makers. And we'll get where we need to get to if we work together. Thank you.